Hey, you special people out there. Welcome to my program. And so, I don't know, I've been making fun of these videos lately, and it's got my algorithms all fed up. And I got this suggestion for this video, and what we're going to see here is, I don't know if you remember, like a year ago, Boomer was the meme. Okay, Boomer, there was that girl who was dancing around with the Bernie shirt. But Boomer was the pejorative of the week or whatever. And I was kind of like, oh, that seems kind of mean to call people boomers. But I got suggested this video, and I looked into this story. And now I think I might be convinced that boomers are out to destroy the world. Hey guys. Hey guys. Just wanted to interrupt myself from the editing room here. I just wanted to sort of clarify that I don't believe that just blanket boomers are bad people or something like that. Of course not. In fact, most, if not many, if not all of my heroes are boomers. So I'm going with the stereotype. I just wanted to clarify that. If you're a boomer, I probably like you and you're probably cool if you're watching this video. So just wanted to, I throw around the word boomer a little bit in this. I'm obviously just being an and I'm sorry. These videos are gonna blow your mind, and there's a punchline to this whole thing too. But just to read about who this guy is, you probably know who this guy is or aware of him. He's everywhere. And when I first started listening to any podcast, it was on top. He was one of the early podcasters, I think, to be honest. Or they just made his radio show a podcast or something. And so I listened to a bunch of this guy too. So I know what's going on here. I've listened to a bunch of this, but let's just get a little backstory on this guy. His name's Dave Ramsey. Ramsey's syndicated radio program, The Dave Ramsey Show, is heard on more than 500 radio stations throughout the United States and Canada. Damn. This guy's all over the place. In podcast format on iHeartRadio, The Dave Ramsey Show, iOS, and on prestigious YouTube, as well as live audio and video on DaveRamsey.com. He's written a bunch of books, including 5 New York Times bestsellers. So this guy's a little bit of a household name in the world of financial advice, which is kind of funny, and you'll see that in a second why. Here's clip number 1, and this clip is called "This Has Gotten Out of Hand." Dave Ramsey rant.
Well, I share your frustration. I've gone past the point. I have made a commitment to God to be kind to people who I don't agree with on these issues, and it's been very hard because some of these people are absolutely misbehaving. The way they're treating each other, the number of times I've been screeched at for not wearing a mask by some idiot in a store, the number of times that I go into a business and the business abuses me as a customer.
So you're probably already getting the vibe here. This guy's a super hardcore anti-mask guy. Nothing boomer about that. Super hardcore anti-mask guy. But before we get into that, just to give you, if you've never listened to this show, okay, and if you have listened to the show, and if you're a fan of Dave Ramsey, give me a chance on this one. Just stick with me, okay? I'm not gonna be too mean or anything, but just stick with me, okay? But if you haven't ever heard of this guy or listened to any of his stuff, I've listened to hours and hours of this guy, and his financial advice can be summed up in under 30 seconds. And here it is. You're not going to believe this amazing advice. Make more money. Make more money. You want to go ahead and make more money. If you want to not be in debt and you want to be able to afford the things you want to buy, you might want to try making more money. Thanks, Dave. How much do I owe you for this seminar? Here's another genius piece of Dave Ramsey advice. If you don't have a lot of money, don't buy a bunch of crap you don't need. That'll be $500 for that advice, please. Here's another one, and this will round out all the advice. Start a business. Start a business that makes money. And invest, too. Invest money in a way that will give you a return on that investment. And there we go. That's the advice from this financial guru. And okay, one more thing, one more little lead up. Okay, one more little prologue, which is I know a lot of people are really harsh on financial gurus and self-help gurus and all that stuff. I don't care. And I think a lot of that stuff is actually good. You know, if you're socially awkward and you find some book that helps you, you know, be more comfortable in social situations, that's great. It worked out for everybody there, you know? If you want to invest your money and you want to figure out what the best way to do that or how to get started, and you find a good book that tells you everything you need to know and gets you motivated, great. Everyone won in that situation. And I wouldn't even be making fun of this guy if he didn't take this bizarre anti-mask turn. He would have totally got away with this, you know, financial advice scam he's running if he would have just zipped his boomer trap, this old goat, for 5 minutes and just pocket the money. Just take the bag and walk away.
I'm tired of it. I'm really getting weary. The number of times that the government of Canada or the government of the United States or the state of Tennessee or the city of Nashville is denying our freedom to operate when the data is now in on this thing, it has gotten out of hand. So I share your frustration.
So when people make fun of boomers, the short explanation for that, as I understand it, is, you know, the post-World War II boom. There was an economic boom that a lot of people of that age, people who were born, you know, late 40s to early 60s, I guess is boomer age, they sort of inherited like a good economic time. They inherited a lot of the benefits of policies that were going on before that, blah, 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 right? So the idea is they inherited a certain amount of entitlements and they feel very entitled. Again, this is a broad generalization. Of course, this is not all boomers, and it would be ridiculous to think, of course, there are tons of cool boomers. Of course. But this is the pejorative meaning, and that a lot of these people feel extremely entitled and pathologically selfish. That's the cartoonish sort of stereotype of a boomer. And I'm sorry, but can you think of anything more pathologically selfish and entitled in this current time than some old goof, some old goon with his, you know, sports polo, walking into a Lowe's and, you know, throwing a tantrum, coughing into the face of a Lowe's employee and then throwing a tantrum when he's asked by the employee who's basically paid in, you know, Starburst and Sour Patch Kids to put on a mask. Can you imagine anything? Can you imagine anything more selfish, more just like Arkham Asylum level pathologically narcissistic and selfish than that?
I've gone past the point. I have made a commitment to God to be kind to people who I don't agree with on these issues, and it's been very hard because some of these people are absolutely misbehaving. The way they're treating each other, the number of times I've been screeched at for not wearing a mask.
So he says it's been hard. It's been hard. It's been so hard. It's been so hard for me because I can't, society has to baby me to the point where I'm going to throw a fit if I go into a Cold Stone and I'm asked to put a piece of cloth on my face for 9.5 minutes while they put together my, you know, Reese's bit filled delicious treat. I'm going to throw an absolute fit if I'm asked to do that. Because I'm a grown adult. I'm in my 60s. And this is how I view the world. Oh no. Oh no. Oh man. He says in this video that they're misbehaving and they're idiots because they ask him to put on a mask. What is the deal with boomers and the masks? I mean, everybody, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want there to be basically anything abnormal. I want to be able to go and get my, coffee in the morning and then basically be left alone, But that's not how life works. You can't throw it. You can't. I'll tell this to Mr. Financial Advisor here. Things don't always go the way you want. You might need to adapt a little bit. It's so funny. At the end of this video, he goes on to this sort of like business advice stuff. He's quoting some book about how you need to be able to pivot if you own a business. You need to be able to pivot he gives the example of Blockbuster, I think. Like, if you start to see it's not working, you need to be liquid. You need to be adaptable. You need to be adaptable. And here, he goes on this long rant, like for like minutes, about how you need to be adaptable or you won't survive. And here, and he can't be bothered to put cloth over his face to avoid killing the people and spreading the disease that's giving the economic problems in the first place. Unbelievable.
By some idiot in a store, the number.
By some idiot in a store. Okay, we got a little bit of an elitist guy. I thought you were down home advice. I thought you were gonna give down home advice. I'm in Tennessee. I can't remember where he is. I think he's in Tennessee. And I thought he was going to give down home advice, but a little bit of an elitist. Guy thinks that people working in a store for probably, $4 every 2 hours, they're idiots.
Number of times that I go into a business and the business abuses me as a customer. I'm tired of it. I'm really getting weary.
Vibes.
The number of times that the government of Canada or the government of the United States or the state of Tennessee or the city of Nashville is denying our freedom to operate when the data is now in on this thing.
So, I mean, it's amazing. This is the guy giving financial advice. Maybe you want to look into the economics of this whole thing because they tried this. Like the Trump administration tried this. They tried to do, hey, guys, don't worry about it. Go out to Target, go out to wherever. Go to Home Depot. Just pretend this doesn't exist. And guess what? It didn't work, dum-dum. That whole plan didn't work because we live in an era where you have access to information and news. And people looked at the news and they said, "Oh, there's a virus," which they're right on this, is very dangerous and very contagious, and they kind of don't want to go out as much. And that affects the economy. Now, of course, if, the obvious thing that people have been talking about is this is a society-wide government, big institutional problem, and that failed. That was a failure. So now we're kind of left to pick up the pieces, and his approach didn't work. They tried it. People, that you can't have the same amount of demand when people don't want to go out and people don't want to go inside of businesses. That seems like economics 0.1. If people don't want to come into a business, that business might not do as well. Seems like if you're giving financial advice on 500 radio stations, you might be able to figure that out, my man.
These governments are not going, we know they're not going to meddle at this level because there's going to be a freaking revolution if they continue to do this. Because people have had it. It's not going to go on a lot longer.
And by people have had it, he means he's upset that he can't do live in-person events where he charges God only knows how much money for him to come and say, save money. That'll be $800, please. Hey, here's an idea. Make more money. $1,000, please. That's what this whole thing is. Unbelievable, man.
I mean, most people are not sheep, and they're just not going to do it a lot longer. So I don't know what the boiling point will be on.
They're not going to do it a lot longer. They're also not going to have the same customers. The lady who's calling in runs a gym. Okay, and I actually have a friend who started a gym here in the city that I live in, and he's doing everything online, which I'll show you the clip. He goes on this long rant about how he doesn't want to wear masks. And then at the end, he finally gives this lady the advice, which is maybe you should do something online. Oh, thanks. There's no way I could have thought of that. I own a gym, and you're saying that maybe I should do something online to deal with this? The fact that people don't want to come into a gym because they have the knowledge. What he wants is that knowledge to be suppressed, for no one to know. Basically put the genie back in the bottle that people know about this. And he wants us to just somehow do the Men in Black mind erase thing on knowing that there's a disease that has killed like more than 10 times the amount of people that the flu killed in 2019, which is 280,000 people more than the flu have been killed by this, and over 300,000 people this year, and highly contagious. And also, there's what it looks like there's vaccines coming, so that's good.
This, but I don't predict a decade of it. I can tell you that we don't have workout facilities, and we don't have gyms, and we don't have martial arts for a decade. I don't think so.
Yeah, and I think it's part two, Allie, that you guys have already done that. You've shifted, you said, to work for an online company, but I'm like, where are the things that you have to get creative, right? I mean, like, even part of our business was just turned upside down with live events, and so now we're having to get
interesting. Maybe that's part of
creative what that looks like of how to do events. Like it's just it takes a different part of your brain. My kids were part of this like little sports class thing that's in our area, and it's so sweet and great. But
she seems kind of nice. She seems kind of, I'm down with Dave Ramsey's daughter. Whatever. Do what you got to do.
They had to shut down due to COVID.
Seems nice. I like the leopard print thing.
But then they ended up starting this whole new department of it.
Let's reiterate that. They had to shut down because of government regulations, not because of COVID.
I'm sorry. Okay, well.
Because the health departments are over the top, lost their dadgum minds. That's why.
It's the Dave Ramsey show. Yes, correct me. But what I'm saying is though that she's all of our schools got.
She's the reasonable one in the family. Now you got to deal with this kook who's like, I'm mad at the health department because I went into where would he go? I'm mad at the health department because I went into a Barnes and Noble's and I was coughing all over the magazines, and somebody asked me politely to put on a mask, and I literally peed my pants and filled my diapers to the brim and laid. You ever see a kid, like a little kid, like at a bank with his parent, he just goes limp kind of thing? Like that's what he did at the Barnes and Noble's. He's like, that's what the health department, it's the health department's fault. Throwing tantrums. I mean, does this guy think there are people who are like psyched and hyped up about that we can't do anything, basically? What's crying? These millennials today they're babies. All they do is they eat their vegan foods and they're babies. Meanwhile, I'm going to literally put a stain in my pants if somebody asks me to not cough all over them and not, do the bare minimum of, being socially responsible. I'm going to throw an absolute fit. The convenient double standard there. Also, it's kind of funny. You'll notice, like, she even already did the online thing. Like his daughter, again, who seems nice, she has to like correct this old kook and be like, yeah, well, she already said online, so basically, not only did they give this woman absolutely nothing of value, but they're just crying. This guy's just belly aching and crying into her earpiece for 5 minutes.
Shut down the spring, but then they created a whole like recess department where the coaches would come to neighborhoods where these pods were of homeschooled.
Look how upset this guy. Just scowling. He's like, that health department. You know that he's thinking about a specific event, at like Bed Bath & Beyond or wherever he was. He drove his, 40-ton pickup truck with an unscratched bed over to Bed Bath & Beyond, and they asked him to wear a mask. And he's just reliving that moment. Tell me to wear a mask. He's just planning his He's just sitting there while he's not even listening to anything she's saying. He's just planning his he's planning his revenge trip back to Bed Bath & Beyond. And the the other thing about this is that this is an expressly Christian show. He's an evangelical Christian. And it's kind of funny how, again, you know, he's all worked up about how he can't do live events. Funny how a lot of that preciousness, sanctity of life stuff kind of goes right down the toilet when your new deck money or your, you know, whatever, third boat money gets compromised in even the smallest in even the smallest way. You know, all that stuff about taking care of your fellow man and treating others before yourself and all that stuff, boop, that's gonna go right down the toilet because I can't build a third gazebo and a sixth koi pond. If you and your family out there watching this has to die for me to build another golf course in my backyard, then so be it. That's what Jesus said. Okay, here we go. Here's the other video I wanted to show you. Oh, yeah.
When mankind decided to become what we call civilized. And a good example of that everyone can relate to is when the wild...
By the way, if you're just listening to this, or if you can't see, the title of this, and this was done in July, during the protest in the United States and elsewhere, during the protest, it's called Why We Need Law and Order, with an exclamation point. Dave Ramsey rant. Oh, man. Beautiful.
Wild West was settled. It was anarchy. It was chaos. Whoever could draw a gun the fastest ruled the street and would take whatever you had that you thought was yours and take it for themselves. The strongest, biggest, meanest, most violent were the only ones.
Okay, so he's going into a long explanation of why he's using the term law and order. Why he's using the term law and order. And this is absurd. This is absurd. He's saying it's all about the Old West. Law and order is from the Old West. What's funny about that is that Trump said it a month before he made this video. Yet somehow it's from the Old West. It's from Annie Oakley. Boo, 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 boom, boom. 6 guns. Boo, do, 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 do. You know? Riding horses around. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. That's what I'm talking about. Not Trump and Nixon using this in his overtly racist campaign. And, you know, I'm going to guess that he just, didn't look into this at all. And is just repeating Trump, which is great. That's great. Great, man. But the person who used this maybe the most in their campaigning was George Wallace, who, if you don't know who George Wallace is, just look him up. He's a segregationist who famously stood in front of a college entrance symbolically to not let the first black students in. Oh, no, Dave. Oh, Dave. Get your daughter in with the leopard print and be like, Dad, it's time to go. You got to wrap it up. You're being a real dumbass. Dad, you're being a dumbass again. Don't say law and order. Look into the history of it. And it's an awkward phrase, too. I mean, I guess it's like because there's that show, you know, Law and Order SVU and all this crap. Maybe that, I don't know. I can't think of anybody who's like, we need law and order. And that's just like, that phrase just rolls off the tongue naturally. So I can't imagine anybody not like being like, what is there something, is there some history to this phrase? Where did this come from? You do any search on it, you see that it has a pretty shady history, my friend. But no, it's about the Old West. It's about the Old West. It's about the Old West because the Old West is a perfect comparison to what's going on now. And just to reiterate this, those protests, it was like they did a bunch of studies on this. 93, 90, whatever, even more percent peaceful. So that means like a tiny percent, 7 or 5 or whatever percent, there were violence. That means there were clashes with the police or people got in a fight. So that means even a small percent were property damage. So for some reason, he's like really worked up and upset about property damage that you would literally have to, you live in your, whatever city you live in, you would have to go to the part of town where there's property damage, basically. So he's really worked up about that. When they were talking about law and order in the Old West, which I don't even know if they use that phrase, if there was if Wyatt Earp or whatever, Val Kilmer and Gravestone, what was that movie? Oh, Tombstone. If they were using the phrase if they were using the phrase Old West, if they were using the phrase law and order, back in the Old West, it was like toothless, diseased guys, basically homeless guys, riding around on horses, murdering each other for like $5 and like a bottle of whiskey and a cigar. They weren't doing civil rights protests. Okay?
The ones that prospered. Then Wyatt Earp comes to town and says, no, we're going to, remember the phrase, clean this town up. And instead of chaos.
You remember that famous phrase, clean this town up? I mean, this guy's an evangelical boomer. I think we need law and order on them. George W. Bush, you know, hundreds of thousands of dead civilians because of George W. Bush and his crew. The election of Donald Trump, 300,000 people dead. We need law and order from these evangelical boomers, right? We need to clean this. We need to clean this town up.
Predictable environment that you could go into any city and do business. Now you can't.
We need a predictable environment in our cities to run our businesses. I need a predictable environment. And when Martin Luther King is walking through doing his protest, it creates uncertainty. So we all need to just stop it.
So I'm sad to announce that we are canceling Smart Conference in Minneapolis this fall.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! You mean this personally affects you, and that's why you're so upset about it? You're not going to be able to scam a bunch of people with fake, phony, baloney financial advice, so you can buy, so you can build your 8th. What else would he build in his backyard? So, oh no, this is what he would buy. So you can buy your 8th grill or whatever. These protesters have caught when they burned down that police station because a viral video of a guy getting killed was circulated. They really interrupted my plan to get my 10th grill. And I'm not crying.
Yeah, makes no sense for us to go.
Well, it's downtown at the Target Center in the middle of Minneapolis. The police are defunded. We cannot put our...
Also, one last thing. What's with the headsets? This guy thinks he's like Bill Belichick or something, giving plays. I think of my family as a sports team, and I'm the coach. That's the other boomer stereotype. They all want to be coaches. I'm a coach. I'm a coach. And again, I think I've said this I said this about Sports Talk Radio. You give these people a shot at managing a sports team. Give Dave Ramsey, 2 days with the Patriots, they just won't exist anymore. The field will be on fire somehow. Half the team will be dead somehow. Absolutely. Absolutely. The other funny thing about this guy, and okay, just to reiterate this, I don't care about gurus. I think it's fine. A lot of that stuff is very useful. Blah, 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 blah. Ty Lopez, fine. Got no problem with him. Okay? But this guy's story is fascinating. He took out a bunch of money in loans to be a landlord, basically, or just buy a bunch of property for whatever reason. He wanted to be a real estate guy. Went bankrupt, then started giving financial advice. I mean, and it's fine. That's the funny thing. That story indicates a scam, sort of. But to be honest, I'd have no problem with that if it weren't veering into these MAGA territories. You know what I mean? You went bankrupt. You're the last person who should be giving financial advice to anyone, much less wearing a Bill Belichick headset doing it. But got no problem with it. Just stay away from the weird anti-civil rights stuff and the MAGA stuff, and we got no problem, my friend. Do whatever you want. That's the thing. That's the stereotypical boomer babiness. It's like, no, it's not good enough for me to get a bunch of money for a scam, basically. I also got to whine and complain that I don't like the protest. I've been watching just hours and hours of Fox News, and I'm all worked up about, some downtown areas, a Chase Bank window got kicked in, and that's what I'm going to focus on, instead of the worldwide civil rights movement. So, it's Christmas time. It's holiday time. Sorry. I'm canceled. Ow, I'm canceled. I can feel it. It's holiday time, so the Daily Beast did this story. This is sort of the punchline to this whole thing. Financial guru Dave Ramsey, this came out like a day ago. Financial guru Dave Ramsey hosts 1,000 guests at maskless Christmas bash as Nashville COVID numbers spike. Personal finance guru has played down risks of COVID, reportedly asked party workers to not wear masks to, quote, to avoid, quote, making the guests feel uncomfortable. Oh, boy. Okay, Scrooge McDuck, Jesus. It may be a merry COVID Christmas for hundreds of maskless guests around Nashville who gorged on barbecue and line danced at a Boots and Barbecue party held by Christian radio personality and personal finance guru Dave Ramsey. I mean, okay, so this is a thing with that guy. What's that guy's name? That mega church guy. Olsen. Jimmy Olsen, or whatever that guy's name is. But he's like the prosperity gospel guy. If you were really taking your financial, philosophy from the Bible, wouldn't it be just like give all your crap away? Like Jesus was basically a communist, right? I don't know. They circle that square in their head somehow. Who knows? And frankly, who cares? Ramsey, who is the foremost proponent of the snowball method of debt control, has an audience of more than 17 million loyal radio and podcast listeners who he has preached the COVID conspiracy theory to as a staunch COVID denier, keeping his media empire's offices open, even to employees who have tested positive for the virus. Again, we can't afford you boomers, especially evangelical boomers. Society just can't afford you guys. You're gonna destroy us. He has referred to lockdown measures as totalitarian on his radio program and urged listeners and employees not to be ruled by fear and not to and of course, don't be ruled by fear means come in and do work to make me more money. Don't make me stop my scam. And not to fall for what he called the hoax and hype about mask wearing and soaring death rates, despite Tennessee hitting its highest spike in cases in a 24-hour period with 11,352 new infections the day after Ramsey's party. Yikes. A private security detail ensured that only invited guests got in. All right, Mr. Fancy Pants. As several local media outlets reported being escorted away, the Scene reported that many of the caterers felt obligated to serve the party for fear of being blocked from further contracts. So, I don't know. I hope maybe somebody name searched this and found this by accident. Look, here's the thing. Guys. There are literally, and this is a literal number I'm about to give you, 100 trillion podcasts with financial advice. And a lot of them are really good. There's in like every possible variety. Podcasts on investing, books on business, podcasts on how to run a business, on and on and on and on. You might not need one where he's giving like the most basic, dumb advice and has all this baggage, but who knows? His fans, the baggage is probably the point. I like all the coughing in service workers' face stuff. That's why I subscribe. Then I don't know. Go punch yourself in the face or something. I don't care. Goodbye.